Hello. Yay! All right, I see you, Jennifer. Let's get this going. Yay! Hi, beautiful.
Hi. You look so beautiful, Mama.
Okay, before we start anything with the interview, I have to tell you, it's bedtime over here, so you might hear babies.
That's okay. I love babies.
Your tutorials, makeup tutorials are my jam.
Oh, you're so sweet. They're fun, right?
Yes, I love them. I just love to watch them. And sometimes when in the middle of the night, so when I'm pregnant, I get a little bit insomnia. And so to turn my brain off, makeup tutorials.
It's kind of mindless and it's fun and it's no
fun.
Stress, no drama. It's just so eezy. Yeah.
It's so easy. And then I'm like, oh, look she's ready to go out. This is going to be me.
We'll have to talk later and get you all dolled up for all this busyness you're in for with the new baby.
Oh, I know. I need that 5-minute makeup for sure.
Exactly.
And you're in the car.
I'm in the car.
Yes. Tell us what you can.
I'm trying to see if you can see Sophia back there.
Hi, beautiful.
I hope. Say hi.
Hi, nice to see you.
Nice to see you, girlfriend.
We are in the Starbucks parking lot, and is the reception pretty good? I'm hoping.
It's great.
Okay. And I turned on the lights so you can see me, and I'm not in the dark, but it's nighttime. So
you're doing great because you're traveling last minute.
Yes, we're traveling back from your neck of the woods, right?
I know.
Kind of.
Well, yes, we're an hour away from LA.
Okay. So we had, this is kind of I was saying a day in the life. Sometimes yesterday afternoon, we got a, what is it called? An audition notification for the next day at 4 p.m. So we hopped in the car this morning and drove to LA. Yeah. We drove 6 hours to LA, did, I think it was a 2-minute audition, and now we're driving home. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so wild.
It was a really fun audition because it was specifically for a girl with Down syndrome, and they were casting a baby, a young girl, and an older girl. So there were all these people with Down syndrome, and it was so fun.
It was so fun.
It was so fun for us, and we got to see friends we haven't seen, and then we're it's going to be a beautiful, I can't say too much, but it's going to be a beautiful commercial, spanning the years of baby, little girl, and older girl. So
I love that.
I'm just going to be excited for whoever gets it because it's going to be a commercial all about Down syndrome. So I'm just excited.
I know.
So,
oh my goodness. Well, I'm so excited that even though you got that call yesterday, you still stayed committed to me because I was so excited.
And I was looking forward to it. So thank you so much.
You're the best. Well, okay, so it's November. We just got finished with Down Syndrome Awareness Month. Then we jump into our other favorite month, Adoption Awareness Month.
Yeah.
And I selfishly want to know both the stories of both your kiddos who have Down syndrome. Joaquin is older, right, than Sophia?
Joaquin's 1 year older, almost exactly. And he's part of the adoption story because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have Sophia. So, I commend you who adopted without having a child with Down syndrome. That's the most amazing thing to me. I decided to adopt because of Joaquin. So he's a big part of the story of how we came to get her. And I call him kind of the secret hero of the story because quite honestly, he's the magic that made it happen, So anyway, So,
well, should we start? We'll start with his birth story.
okay. So I'm excited to share his story. Usually, I have, well, let's see, how do I do this? I have 3 biological boys, and Joaquin is my 3rd biological son. I have an older son, Diego, another son, Mateo, and we decided to have a 3rd baby. And it was a totally normal, typical pregnancy, very similar to my other boys. I was 37 years old, so they did consider me advanced maternal age, but I declined everything. I said, for no reason other than I felt like if there's anything kind of super important, we'll catch it in the 20-week ultrasound. Like if it's something like life and death, we'll probably see it there and we can kind of address it then. Right. I had that alpha fetal protein test with my oldest son, Diego, and it had a false positive. And I remember the stress that it gave me. It was just a false positive for a marker. And then we did the 20-week ultrasound and he was cleared. But just that, like 2 weeks between the AFP and that ultrasound, I was like a nervous wreck, right? And I just didn't want to have any stress. And I just assumed, I just don't want false positives or anything. So I just declined everything. And at the 20-week ultrasound, we saw a totally healthy baby. His limbs were measuring great. His heart looked perfect. And there was no marker. So we assumed we're having our 3rd, and we saw that it was boy. Yeah. So that was kind of a little bit of heartbreak for me because I had 2 boys and I was kind of hoping for a girl.
Totally.
And so I had a little bit of a letdown there, but then I'm like, oh, it's a healthy baby. What am I upset about? And then I totally got into like the whole boy mom thing. I'm going to be the best boy mom. I've got 3 boys. Yeah. So we got on to just like enjoying our pregnancy. We kind of figured it might be our last one. And, he was born 2 weeks early, which was different for me, but it was fine. 2 weeks early was not a huge deal, but he came super fast. Yeah. And like lightning fast. Like I got into the car with contractions, and when we got to the hospital, which was like 5 minutes away, we had him 5 minutes later. So
my goodness. You didn't get an epidural?
No, God, no. No. It was hard. It was hard.
You did it.
I did. Gosh. Yeah, my first 2, I was one of those women that was like super into the whole natural thing. So my first 2, I didn't have an epidural, but the 3rd one, I had said to Hector, I'm like, I want to experience that blissful, like epidural pregnant, like birth. Yeah. And so I was planning on having one just to know what that was like. Funny. And then it didn't happen. Funny. Anyway, so you can't plan. You just can't plan sometimes. So anyway, we had him I live in Sacramento area. We had him at UC Davis, which is a really big medical institution, like a very prominent hospital in our area. It's a teaching hospital. So you often have like a lot of doctors that come through and, it's a teaching hospital. So it's like our university, UC, like UCLA, but it's UC Davis. Right. Because I had him so fast, they weren't able to get my doctor there in time. So it was just, they grabbed a doctor that was walking down the hall, and that's who delivered the baby. My mom was with us, and she's a neonatal nurse. And so everything, of course, happened so fast. Baby comes out, and, they rush him to the warming thing because he came out so fast. I think they do a little extra stuff when they come out so fast. And I remember looking across the room at him in the like little bassinet warming table where they're kind of wiping him down and getting him ready to see me. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, he's so petite. He was so like, he was so, he looked like a little doll. And my other boys were quite like, I don't know, like kind of not so cute. Like they were just kind of like leggy and army and like just kind of awkward looking, and he just looked like literally after birth, he looked so perfect.
Yes.
And then they brought him over to me and put him in my arms. And at this point, there's nothing happening except for the normal stuff. They put him in my arms, and the very first words I say, and I don't know how or why, but the very first words I say as he put him in my arms, I said, "Oh my gosh, does he have Down syndrome?" And the reason I said that is because there was something about his face that I just saw it.
You saw it.
I saw it. And now my background is I was a recreation therapist for many years. So I have experience working with children and adults with Down syndrome disabilities. So I never knew anyone personally, but I worked with children and adults with Down syndrome. So I was familiar with like some of the characteristics, but there was just something about this baby that when they put him in my arms, there was something about his face. And that's why I kind of posted some of his baby pictures, because you may or may not see it in the pictures, but I did. So I say that, and like Hector, my husband's like, "What?" And my mom's like, "What?" And the nurse who handed it to me said, "No, honey, no." And I was like, and that's what you want to hear. Right? So I'm like, "Oh, okay. So I just get on to the business of loving him, and they go up to give him his bath, and Hector always goes up for the bath, right? We have to stay down there. He goes up to the bath, and he's like, he told me later, he said, as they're bathing him, I stopped the doctor and the nurse that were up there and said, "My wife said this about Joaquin. What do you think?" And they took a look at him and said, "No, we don't see anything that would give us an indication." So we left the hospital with what we thought was a typical, I know. And let me tell you, we saw probably 7 or 8 doctors. They all come in and do their rounds, and they do their, like, I don't know, for lack of a better word, inspection, or like, I don't know, the baby.
No,
He did fail 1 ear hearing test, but they're like, "Oh, so normal, baby." Like, it's probably fluid. He came out so fast, there was not time to like squeeze out the fluid. And that was it. So I take this baby home, and he's nursing, he's doing all the things,
Oh, he was.
Yeah, he was just like, I didn't know any different. I noticed his latch was just a little bit different, but it's a different baby.
Yeah.
And I really didn't think much more about it. And I got home, and like for the first week, Hector and I would be like, "Does he or does he not?" And like, we're like, "But they said no." And so we just kind of got into the business of loving him just like a baby. And I realized he was like the easiest baby on the freaking planet. I was like, where is this child from?
Totally.
He slept through the night. When newborn sleeps through the night.
Yeah. That was Sunny too.
As we know, babies with Down syndrome are the easiest babies on the planet.
They're perfect. Oh my God.
They're perfect. But I didn't know. I'm just thinking, wait, there's something wrong, because he's way too easy. We went to he was born February 2nd, so there was it was around the Super Bowl, and we went to a Super Bowl party, and I took him, and he slept through the whole thing, and he didn't fuss, and everyone's like, "What is this magical baby?" And I'm like, "I don't know." Anyway, long story short, it was almost too good to be true, and my mother instinct was still like kind of kicking in. Oops. Lost my light. Oh, hey, I'm in the dark.
Okay.
Here, let me see if I can...
But your battery's still good, right?
Well, yeah, it is. Okay. All right. Okay. So, thank you. That would be really scary.
I would drive to you.
So, what? Yeah, you'll drive. Thank you. I'll find some nice person to
help you
drive my car. Okay. So what? Okay. So this is important, because always trust your instinct as a mother. And there would be days when I'm just like, everything's fine. And there'd be days where I'm like, but I never went so far as to like research anything. I just was like, every day I'd kind of like wake up and say, "Does he?" but I was always relieved to think, no, he doesn't. Right? We're relieved,
Yeah.
right? We want what we think is a healthy baby, and I'm
Right.
looking at a healthy baby.
Right.
Okay, so there's a couple funny things, or not funny, like God things actually, but fast, like reverse. When we were deciding on Joaquin's name, this is a really important part, I think, is we named him Joaquin, but we had trouble figuring out his middle name. I really wanted to name him Joaquin Tomas, which is JT. I thought that was cute, and I was like, cute little name. But Hector was like adamant that we name him. We had named our first two boys after our paternal grandfathers, so we couldn't like do another like grandpa name, because we're like, then we're like getting into like territory of not making everyone happy. So
Totally.
like he had his grandfather's name, I had my grandfather's name as our middle name. So I was like, that's right, let's just do Tomas and not worry about it. He's like, no, I really would love to name him after my nephew, Andres. And I said, okay. And he's like, so Andres, okay, this is gonna blow you away, but this is before Joaquin's born. He said, Andres is my most favorite human being on the planet. It's his nephew, the oldest nephew on his side of the family in Mexico, and he has Down syndrome.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry.
I know.
Andres.
So when he told me that, I said, well, of course we're going to name him Joaquin Andres. Like, how could I ever like deny that? I said,
I know.
If he is your most favorite person,
I love that.
He's like, he's my most favorite person. I just would love to honor him in that way. And so how crazy is this? Okay. So
I love it.
It's crazy. And then the other thing was, during my pregnancy, I read the book Memory Keeper's Daughter. It was the top seller that summer. Do you remember that book? I read that while I was pregnant. What? It was the #1 bestseller, and there was a made-for-TV movie coming out, and it was kind of like due out like weeks after Joaquin was born. So anyway, 2.5 months go by, and we're just loving on our sweet, easy baby, and I'm at my mom's house. 2.5 months. He's been to his he went to his 6-week well check. Nothing.
Oh my gosh.
So at 2.5 months old, I was at my mom's house, and the movie Memory Keeper's Daughter came on, and we sat down to watch it together. And I remember I was nursing him, and the opening scene of the movie is when the babies are born, the twins, and when the twin with Down syndrome is born, they flash to the sandal gap toe, the simian crease on the hand, and like the like kind of sweet little face. And when I saw that, I looked at my mom and I said, my baby has Down syndrome. And she looked at me, and she's a neonatal nurse, and she goes, I think so too. And I got up as the movie's playing, and I called my doctor, and I said, I need you to test my baby. I need to know. I just need to know. And he said, why? He's like, I don't understand what you're worried about. I said, I need to know. I will not be able to rest until I know, please. He said, well, come in for another appointment. Okay. So I'm like, okay. I come in for his 10-week, and he takes a look at him, and he's like, I really don't see what you see. And I showed him he had a little sandal gap. He had one hand with a simian crease. I said, look at his face. Well, so my babies are half Mexican. So they have dramatic, beautiful eyes, like the slanted eyes. Yeah. They have maybe more exotic features that maybe he was seeing. I don't know. But he said, here's the deal. I'll do the test because you're concerned. But this is a doctor who's like in his 50s, right? So not like even a new doctor. And he's like, I'll do it because you're concerned, and it takes 2 weeks, right?
Oh my goodness.
I had to wait 2 more weeks, but I was finally excited to just have peace. I just needed peace. I wanted to know it wasn't going to change anything. The beautiful thing about the way I got his diagnosis was I fell in love with my child without a label. I just got to fall in love with him. So the label was just going to help inform me how to help this baby the best I could, and I needed to know immediately. Right. So, okay, fast forward 2 weeks later, I get the phone call, and it's the whole are you sitting down? And I'm like, okay, here we go.
Yes.
And at this point, I'm thinking he's got mosaic Down syndrome. I'm like,
Okay.
I had done a little research. I'm like, he must have
Right.
mosaic. And I was
Right.
kind of relieved about that for whatever weird reason. And so he sits me down. He's like, I will never not trust a mother's instinct. Yes, he has trisomy 21, and he has true trisomy 21, like the classic trisomy.
Okay.
And he said, you know, I apologize. And he said, I'll never make the mistake of, you know, not taking seriously a mother's concern. And then he just like gave me all the resources to get going. And I started doing all the, like that night, I remember that night I, you know, called my mom, called the people and said, okay, we got to get to work. We got to get him the things he needs to be the best he can. So that's his birth story. That was on his 3-month birthday. It was literally his 3-month birthday. So on February, March, May 2nd, we got his diagnosis. So he was 3 months old. And that is the story of Joaquin. Now, like all the things started coming, like I'm like, oh my God, his middle name after Andres. That was the first person we called, was Hector's sister that has Andres. And that was the first phone call we made. And that was a really welcoming, wonderful way to like be welcomed into this world of Down syndrome, you know?
Yes.
Hector was not really that upset because of Andres. But of course we had the normal heartache that comes with like, okay, things are going to be hard for him. You know, things are going to be harder for him, that heartache.
Right.
But when I got the diagnosis, I went full force into like all the things, you know, music therapy, all the things. And in that pursuit of learning everything I could, I was hungry for, like, as we all were, hungry for photos of other babies. There wasn't a lot of blogs at the time. So I started blogging. Facebook really was like just starting. Instagram didn't exist. So
Isn't that so funny?
Isn't that crazy? Like families are so blessed by social media when they get a diagnosis now, because it's just like you've got an instant family. So I started blogging immediately. That's how I announced to the world that he had Down syndrome. And through the blogging world, you know, you meet your people, and lo and behold, as I'm learning about Down syndrome, I learned that there are hundreds and hundreds of babies that are without a home because of their diagnosis. And so fast forward about a year and a half later, my grandmother passed away, and I wanted to do something in her honor. This is truly how it happened. I wanted to like make a donation in her honor, something special. And I thought, you know what? I'd heard of Reese's Rainbow, which is a adoption ministry. I had heard of a few families that were adopting through this organization, and I popped onto the organization, didn't really know much about it. And I saw like hundreds of photos of babies. And I thought, let me grab the big boys, which was, you know, Diego and Mateo. They were 5 and 3 at the time. Joaquin's just like a 1-year-old. And I go, let's pick one of these babies on the computer, and we're going to give money in grandma's name, in great grandma's name, just to honor her. And so I thought this was a good lesson for the boys. I'm like, let's help. So basically you donate money to help the babies have less cost to do the adoption process, because you know how expensive it can be.
Totally. Yes.
So expensive, which is prohibitive for a lot of families. And I thought, well, if I can ease somebody's, you know, financial burden. Yes. So I donate. Oh, okay. So we peruse, we're looking through the website, and we immediately come across the photo that I had put on your feed, this photo of this baby's face. And I'm like, oh. And the boys are like, Mama, that's the one. And I click on it, and her name is Sophia. It's spelled the Russian way. All I saw was her birthday, which was the same month and year as Joaquin's. That's how it was listed. And that she was in Ukraine and she had Down syndrome. That's all I knew. And and we fell in love with her face, and the boys were like, that's the one, Mama, pick her. So I click like donate on her button. I send the money, and I shut the computer, and we're done. I'm like, she's so cute. Oh my God, she's so cute. So we donate and we go away and do our whole thing. Well, it was around Christmas time, and Reese's Rainbow does an ornament kind of thank you. And like a week later, I get an ornament in the mail with that picture on the ornament. Very, very smart of these people. It's like, I know what you're doing. I didn't know it at the time. So I get the ornament, and it's that darling photo. Oh my gosh. And we put it on our Christmas tree, and the seed was planted.
Yes, firmly planted.
Because we're like staring at her face. And we were going to Mexico that Christmas. We went to Mexico City to see Hector's family and to see Andres. And we went to the beach for New Year's, and it was on the beach of, where was it? Tulum, a beach in Tulum. Beautiful
gorgeous.
Beach, gorgeous beach. My two big boys are in the surf playing off together, and Joaquin had just learned to sit up, and he was sitting on the sand playing by himself. Yeah. And I saw the two big boys totally, like, they're 21 months apart, and like they're best friends and brothers. Yeah. And I saw Joaquin by himself, and I thought, oh my gosh, I need to adopt this baby. Not only I need to adopt truly the first reason was I need to adopt this baby. I think I need to bring her home. I need to give Joaquin the gift of a sibling that's just like him.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because I thought, these boys are going to grow and do their own thing. And like, Joaquin's going to grow and do his own thing too. But like, something hit me like, this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sophia's silent, but she's listening. Are you?
I know. I was gonna read that one too. I'm like, I know she's.
You can
amazing.
pop your head up if you want. You can pop your head up and say hi if you want.
Yes, you totally can.
You can say hi. Hi. Here, put your
Hi,
face
Sophia.
Up here. Sit here. Because we're getting to your story. This is your favorite story, huh? So anyway, I knew in my heart that this was what I wanted to do. And this is the panic of adoption, right? I was like, my heart was sold, sealed, ready. But I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to ask Hector. I have to ask. Like, he has no idea this is going through my head, by the way. Hector has no idea. He's like, oh, how sweet. You bought an ornament, whatever. He's like,
yes.
Clueless. And so on that trip, I kind of like just like threw out the idea of like, and when we got home, we had a more serious conversation. And honestly, he was like, no. He's like, no, what are you talking about? He's like, if you want another baby, let's just have another baby. And if you want a girl, let's try for a girl. And he's like, and I said, no, but it's not that. It's not that I want another baby. I think we need this baby because she needs a home. Yes. We are a perfectly capable home. We're already raising a child with Down syndrome. We know what we're doing. And Joaquin will have a sibling. Like, how more beautiful of a gift is that for a child? And he was still just like, no. I mean, most men are no, because they're like, they just see it as like financial responsibility or like a burden that they don't need to take on, Right.
Yes. It just seems hard for the family. So it's just
hard.
Can't fathom this.
He can't. And his heart, they're not women. They don't have maternal instincts for a reason, And so
I feel like your trend, I feel like God speaks to you. So I feel like you kept getting
his whisper was very loud in my ear. And it was like the calling was happening and I was answering it. I was not ignoring it. It would have been really easy to just like, no. But I was like, and so I told him that. And then I worked on him for a good, probably close to a month. And finally I was like, we need to decide because like this baby is just waiting. And he said, you know what? He said, and he's also, I say there's two heroes in the story, Joaquin and my husband. He finally said to me, he's like, you know what? I don't know anything about this and I'm not sure about this, but I don't want in 20 years from now for us to look at each other and say we should have, could have. He's like, so I'm going to take a leap of faith. I really don't know anything about this. I'm not sure what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it for you, for me. And so we did it. And we just, I mean, we were record fast. Like as soon as he said yes, I was like on a mission, right? And we fundraise was the other thing. He's like, how expensive is it? I'm like, it's expensive. We don't have that money laying around. You know, it's $25,000. We raised every single penny.
Right.
Our community wrapped their arms around us, and we got her home. I think we committed to her in end of January, and we had her home by June. We met her in April and had her home by June. That's fast for international adoption.
Yes.
She remembers her first birthday, which was her second birthday. So this is the part of the story that's interesting. So after we committed to her, I thought I was getting twins, by the way, because their birthday was the same month and year. And so I was like so excited about that. I'm like, they're twins. I can raise them together. Well, about 2 months into the adoption process, the coordinator came back and said, oh gosh, there was an error on the year. She was born in February, but it's actually a year younger. So she was actually 1 year less in the orphanage.
Whoa.
Which for me at the time kind of rocked me a little bit because, you know, you're like expecting something. But then I realized, oh my gosh, what a blessing. That means 1 less year in an institution, right?
Yes.
One less year of damage from not having a family.
Totally.
So she was 16 months when we got her home, and they are exactly a year apart. So we've got Joaquin's 11, Sophia's 10, and she's just and so we brought her home. So that's our story.
Oh my goodness. And so when you brought her home, was she walking it? So what kind of things did you kind of dive into once you got her home?
Yeah, so so we met her in April, and we had to stay in Ukraine for almost 4 weeks, like 3.5 weeks, visiting her twice a day. And when we met her, she was 14 months old. She was not holding her head up.
Okay.
She had never been outside. Never had a bath. Her head was shaved.
Never had a bath.
No, like submersion. Like I think they sponge bathe them.
Okay.
She had the flattest head from being like just in a crate kind of thing.
Now your head's perfect, girlfriend.
Your head is perfect. But you know, you could tell when I met this baby. But here's the thing: when I met her, because Sophia's kind of, I mean, all our children are special, but there's something some inner light. Her inner light was shining through the shell of a baby, like. When she came out, when they brought her out of the orphanage, I could see that she was a survivor. Like this girl was going to survive no matter what. She had a spirit that was like a fighter. And so when we were visiting her for 4 weeks, I literally was doing all the therapies that I did with Joaquin. During my visits, I'd like sit her on the floor and do OT. I would try to like get her core control. I was helping like stabilize her head. Because she felt like a sack of potatoes. She didn't have any tone. No tone. You had no tone. And when she was quite
just a marshmallow.
She was a marshmallow.
That's what I would call Sunny. I'm like, oh, my marshmallow.
Tell them what you had. You had what?
Chubby cheeks.
She had chubby cheeks, is what she
had. Chubby cheeks?
Yes, I did.
I believe it.
She had chubby cheeks, and but so by the time. Oh God, the hardest part was we had to leave her for a month. We had to leave to go home. There was a month waiting period.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it was crazy. We had to leave her, go back to the US, and then go back and get her in June. So that month of May was a really hard month for us. But and all that work I had done with her, I was so worried, you know, like she had to go back to like not being held, you know.
Right.
Anyway,
right.
So She is beautiful. She just said, "Is she beautiful, Mom?" Yes, she is beautiful. Isn't
Thank
she?
you, girlfriend. You're the sweetest. You're beautiful too. You both are so beautiful.
Hi, thanks.
You're welcome.
Yes, hello.
So that was kind of, we got to work, and like that was the benefit of having Joaquin, is I knew what to do. That was my whole thing. I'm like, I know what to do. I know how to help her. And she was hungry for physical touch, and like she responded so quickly because I think she was so hungry for anything. So it was just like she really started, I think I have a video of her 2 months home, and she was already signing like 100 signs. Like I knew that.
Oh my goodness.
And she was just hungry. And
yes,
because of the language barrier, remember she had only heard like Russian. I thought, I'm going to do a lot of sign language with her because she's already 16 months old, and I need to give her tools to talk to us, you know. So she picked up on sign language really quickly. We did that in the beginning, and then all the therapies, and then she's showing her signs. She also had 3 therapists and her brothers, right? She had 3 brothers that were like all over her all day long. So.
Yes.
I love my brother so much, and I love my dad too.
You do love them.
Oh, I love that. Well, you know, I'm going to have my 3rd boy, and I too had to adopt to get my girl.
I know, so we both had to get our girls through adoption.
I know.
And you're beautiful girl. She's such a beauty. Oh my gosh.
My sunflower. She's a fun, wild one. And one day we'll get our girls together.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. Well, you guys are so amazing. And I just wanted to tell, I really wanted to sit down with you because I love following your family. I love Joaquin, and I love to follow all the neat things that Sophia and him are doing. And even just with like Sophia's career, being a role model for all our kiddos, and how you're just blowing up, girlfriend, and that light is shining and the world is seeing it.
It is. I feel like, you know,
it's amazing.
It is amazing. I feel like she definitely has a story to tell, and I think it's opening up people's eyes. I mean, I think her story, even being that she was chosen, right? She was chosen. Our girls were chosen by us, and for people to know that like this life we lead is so worthy, and they're so worthy, that we chose this, right? We chose this journey because we know how beautiful it is. And so the fact that she can like increase her platform with the things that she's doing is, it warms my heart. I know God knew what he was doing. I know that this was all part of the master plan. And so we like these opportunities, we say yes to them because we don't know what doors that's going to open for the world of Down syndrome, right?
Yes.
And
totally.
The more people that see our children in their everyday lives, the more willing they'll be to accept and include and love. Right. So and
fathom, because I think even so then there's Down syndrome that can be kind of like scary and unknown, and then there's adoption that can be scary and unknown. So I just think when you pair the two, it's a tough, not like a sell, but kind of, it's a tough sell. You're just kind of like, do I kind of think I would like to, but I don't know. And I just love to promote,